I'm Judy, the athlete, and we're here to help you better your best. So we're finishing up right now a series on the research that we did on mindsets with archers. And so this last week, we're going to just give you an overall summary of what we found in that experience.
We learned so much, Judy. I'm grateful to all the participants because they're the ones that are providing this great data. But it was testing differences of mindset, and we created different conditions which they hadn't experienced before in order to elicit these mindsets. And remember, they told us afterwards after the shot what the mindset was. So that was the setup. And what was really fascinating is that mindsets differentiated score more than the conditions, even though we had some pretty tough conditions in there. So that was pretty amazing. And the other thing is, we're always interested in the brain activity, right versus balanced versus left. And what we found is that when they were shooting in general, the 17 of them, 55% were shooting from the right side of their brain, another 28% from the balanced center of their brain, and that contributes to 83%. And it is what we say, you want to be center or right-sided, and these are really elite performers, so that doesn't surprise me
at least
at all.
moving right.
Yeah.
Moving right.
That's right. Yeah.
Another thing we found is that hold time was longer and the stability was higher for the more demanding shots, which makes sense when you think about that, right? It's more important, I'm really going for it. But what seems to be important is what you're doing in that longer hold time. If what you're doing is making adjustments and trying to help it, and the conscious is coming in, it's probably not as effective as when you are willing it. So the will is going to be it takes time.
It takes time to get to that level of intensity.
But it's an uber level of intensity, and so therefore
and it wears us out.
It wears us out, and it works.
It works.
Right?
Significantly higher scores. So that's really fascinating. The other very important finding, I think, was that it's not the zone, it's your zone. And we saw different brain patterns, heart rate patterns, but they were all related to what worked for you. And the other piece is it's developmental. As you get better in your shooting, your zone will change, the zone condition, and the brain patterns and heart patterns will change accordingly. And we found the most zone shots were in the money condition, and so the higher the demand, I mean, we want to create these pressure players. The higher the demand, the more likely you're going to be in the zone, the more likely you're going to score better. So it all kind of goes together. The other fascinating one was the value of will shots. And I don't think, our performers practice that too much. It's like, how do I practice will? But you can practice it. You can clearly dial up that intensity because it improves your scores above normal shots, similar to zone shots.
And it's really good to know that you can when you really want to.
Correct. And then synergy went up with will shots. So, you put on the headset and you do Optian training, and you're going to increase.
Learn to balance.
Learn to will the ball. Right. Yeah, it's very good.
So there were a few limitations to the study, right? We had a really small group, however, a very elite group, in the top 20 in the United States. There was a subjective indicator of mindset, right? So it's possible that what I consider help or save is a little bit different, but really as we watched them, it felt like they understood
the instructions
and how we defined those mindsets. And then the last one is that we didn't get complete data for all because some people never found the zone, or they never had a zone shot, or other people didn't will a shot. And so for that reason, we don't have a comparison.
And the other one was blank. Hardly anybody had blank because they're so elite, but they were interesting. Yeah, so one more subset of data that was fascinating, Judy, was aiming. And so I remember I looked at the data because they're aiming with their right eye, dominant eye. Right-handed. And vice versa. And so that would come back to the left occipital area of the brain back here that we were measuring. And what we found is the activity on the left side was lower than the activity on the right side, which is not the eye they're using to aim in their better shots. And so once again, I know you always say it's not an aiming sport. But what happens is I think they get the information and they're done. So that part of the brain quiets and they got to get done. They got to stop aiming and get done and shoot the shot. And that's exactly what the data was showing us.
And that sort of explains the phenomena that I would say is that when everything was really right, that it kind of fuzzed, right? The blur happens, and I was very happy with the blur.
Yeah. So the data from this study has been very helpful to design the next study, which we'll be doing with golf, and it'll be our attempt to differentiate, I think, flow, zone, and will, because all of them improve performance. But I'm quite confident that we can set up conditions to do that now, and we'll see what the data shows.
It's going to be really fun to see, and just to have learned what our next step is really good.
Right. So I hope all of you have benefited from the information and use it to help you score better.
And thank you to all the elite archers that really helped us gather this information.